I'm thinking that that today is going to be something else altogether. Well, I've got to ask there's a very special thing here now, and then we'll get on with a few other things. But I'm going to say to you that I had some people come up to me and they say, when you do your impressions and things like that, Dan, do you have a favourite impression or what have you? And I said, yeah, I get asked that all the time. I remember Michael Caine, I'm watching Michael Caine get interviewed by Michael Parkinson, and they said, you get imitated by a lot of people. And he said, yeah, I do. He said, can you do your own? He said, I could do Michael Caine myself. And he goes, hello, I'm Michael Caine. And I, looking at it, thinking that he could be a stand-up comedian because he has that charismatic way of talking and he has very good timing and what have you. So I imagine Michael Caine as a stand-up comedian would do jokes like, I was laying in bed with my next-door neighbour Charlie last night. After about 20 minutes of staring at the ceiling, I turned to Charlie. I said, I don't think much of this wife swapping, do you? There's a bloke who is the warden of a prison, and two blokes are going to go in the electric chair. He goes down and he says to him, I've got to grant you one wish before you shuttle off this mortal coil. He said, now, said the first bloke, what do you want? Anything you like. The fellow says, I've got a most unusual request. He said, I'm going to ask for Justin Bieber himself to be standing here in front of me to sing Baby Baby before I die. And the governor says, that is the most unusual request we've ever had. He said, but we're going to have to do it. He said, it's the law. He said, I'll get Justin Bieber down here. He said, it'll take a couple of hours, a jet helicopter or something like that. Then he turns to the second bloke. He said, what do you want? He said, kill me first. Baby, baby. Priest checks into a motel. And the fellow at the reception, he said, Father, he said, tonight is your lucky night. He said, not only do you get 20% off the tariff, he said, but tomorrow morning your breakfast is free. He said, your minibar is free, and your cable television is free. He goes, oh, my son. He said, I hope that the porno channel on the cable television is disabled. He said, no, it's just ordinary porn, you sick bastard. The bloke walking down the street, he sees a woman with perfect breasts. He says to her, miss, would you let me bite your breast for $100? She said, are you nuts? He said, well, will you let me bite them for 1,000? She said, are you kidding? He said, well, will you let me bite them for $10,000? And she goes, 10 grand. She said, I'll tell you what. Okay, just once but naughty, we'll go down this alley. So they go in the alley, she takes off her blouse and reveals the most perfect breasts you've ever seen. As soon as he sees them, he grabs them, he starts caressing them, he's fondling them slowly, kissing them, licking them, burying his face in them. And she said, well, were you going to bite them or not? He goes, nah, it costs too fucking much.
Just check that. I should have 2,200 in that.
Well, I goes to the doctor and he said, I think my wife's going hard of hearing. And the doctor said, well, this is a simple test you can do it. He said, you stand about 40 feet away and your normal conversational speaking tone, and then if she can't hear you move 30 feet. And if she can't hear, then you go 20 feet, you can't hear until you get up close and you get a response. So that evening, the wife's in the kitchen, and he's about 40 feet away, and he goes, honey, what's for dinner? He can't hear anything. So he moves a little bit closer, 30 feet, and he says, excuse me, Peg, what's for dinner? Nothing. He gets about 20 feet, he's just around the corner from the kitchen, he goes, darling, what's for dinner? Nothing. So he walks up the kitchen door, he says, Dale, what's for dinner? Nothing. No response whatsoever. And then he gets right up behind her and he goes, Dale, what's for dinner? She said, for the 5th fucking time, Fred, fish. Now I've got a golfing dilemma, right? Here's a golfing dilemma for you, right? You're playing in the club championship, playing with a mate, sudden death. You get to 18 holes, it's even. So it's sudden death, you've got to go back down the 18th. I hit my drive down the middle, 140 from the green. My mate stands up, he hits it, hooks it over to the left into the woods. So we both go down looking for his ball for about 10 minutes, can't find it. He turns around and he said, listen, why don't you go back out, hit your ball, I'll have another look for mine for a couple of minutes. I can't find it, I have to play provisional. So I go back out the fairway, 7-iron, boom, hit it to about 12 feet. So I walk up towards the green, I can't see any hide and hair of me, mate. I'm standing on the green, just as I mark my ball, this ball comes flying out of the woods and lands 3 inches from the hole. Now here's the dilemma. Do you pull the cheating bastard's ball out of your pocket? Dear, oh dear, oh dear.
I'll make it 2,000.
Now I've got to tell you that
Is it?
lots of serious things going on in the world, and also that's what we come here today to get away from, all those sorts of things, because you get plenty of that crap and what have you. And so what we thought we'd do this year for the old bastards is bring you a speaker who is, well, it's really it's someone who's entertaining, but at the same time just a little bit more on the let me say not quite serious, but serious enough side of things. It's my pleasure to introduce someone who he's currently on a national speaking tour, and who has over the past few months been working closely with a number of high-profile athletes. So, is there a slide here? Yes. Dr. Tony Valenti. He's the sports psychologist to the stars. He's an internationally renowned speaker, author, and motivator who has been universally dubbed as the sports psychologist to the stars. As a former champion cyclist and now a highly successful business person, Tony can empathise with top-level athletes, coaches and leaders. He's individually counselled world champions in athletics, soccer, basketball, cycling, as well as being the unnerving inspiration behind world champion Valentino Rossi. Over the past 5 years, Tony has also gained global fame as being a genuine truth wizard, a human lie detector. Very rare breed of individual who can tell 98% of the time whether someone is lying or not. Not me, Tony. But this is a remarkable skill. It's I've seen this. There was a doctor in the States. I'm talking over 15 years ago that I saw that they were using. A friend of mine was a police interrogator, and if they get to the suspect first, they can actually pick up whether these people are lying or not, because they go on their facial tics and movements and all sorts of stuff. So it's a dead set study, and I saw that this particular guy, the professor, and this other guy in the LA County Sheriff's Department was studying this thing at a particular time. So Tony's picked up on this particular line of this human lie detector, and as a result, he's pioneered a unique forensic anti-doping interview. In 2012, Tony used this technique to interview Lance Armstrong for USADA, the United States Anti-Doping Agency, and over the past 6 months he's assisted both the WADA and ASADA with their Australian investigations of the AFL and the NRL. So this is going to be pretty interesting. We really appreciate Tony accepting our invitation to speak to us today, so please join me in giving him a warm old bastards welcome, Dr. Tony Valenti.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind welcome. Thank you, Danny, for that very illustrious introduction. Danny told me before he was a little bit nervous about delivering that introduction. See, Danny, you shouldn't have been, I must say. Of all the introductions I've had at luncheons worldwide, that would have to be by far the most recent. Thank you, Danny. Actually, a lot of people ask me if I get nervous speaking, and being Italian, I say no, it's just a natural thing for us to speak in public or in private. And Danny was telling me that a recent Australia-wide survey revealed that your #1 fear right across the board for the past 6 years was speaking in public. Not only was the fear of public speaking rated your #1 fear, but death and dying was rated #4. So it's a sure bet at your next funeral that the person giving the eulogy would rather be in the wooden box in front of him. As you can see, I like us starting our presentation off with some humour. As we Italians know, laughter keeps the soul refreshed and improves our spirit. Although many people say that I joke around a little bit too much. They say if I were a lawyer, I'd be disbarred for making so much fun out of life. And let me say, for an Italian English word, disbarred is a confusing and ambiguous one. I mean, if lawyers are disbarred and clergymen defrocked, does it follow that electricians are delighted, musicians denoted, models deposed, composers decomposed, tree surgeons debarked, and dry cleaners depressed? For Italian, I think it's very confusing. But I really do value this opportunity of being at this 20th anniversary big lunch for you old bastards here on the beautiful Gold Coast. Even from far away Italy, I know your charitable organisation is based on those glorious ideals of fun, fellowship and joviality, which is, you narrow this down, of the ideal that the entire Italian culture is based on. And like we Italians, you old bastards love to drink and dine, and those pursuits are reflected in your colourful history with your big lunch. And I had to research a little bit for my talk, and I can see you have made had a true cosmopolitan mix of artists who have graced your stage here for the last 20 years. You've had a few Elliots, Cole Elliot, Elliot Goblet. You've had the ventriloquist Darren Carr twice. You've had that wonderful man who introduced me, Danny McMaster, quite a few times. You've had colourful characters like King Billy Cockbottle and Mahatma Colt, as well as the two wonderful perennial comedians. One is Brian Doyle and Paul Martel. And of course, someone who was close to the heart of your lunch was the comedian MC, the late Johnny Garfield. So I think we should give Johnny especially a round of applause. But my research also tells me that your first big lunch was way back in 1995, an eventful year. It was the year when O.J. Simpson trial commenced. It was the year that US President Bill Clinton declared that he did not have sexual relations with that woman. It was the year that French exploded the nuclear devices in your South Pacific, saying it was right, and they said stiff shit to you. In 1995, your Prime Minister was Paul Keating, who routinely called the then Liberal opposition colourful phrases such as gutless spiz, painted perfume gigolos, mangy maggots, foul-mouthed grubs, and intellectual rust buckets.